Right, and welcome everybody to CryptoMondays Zoom, Global Thought Leadership, and featured guests. It's by the community, just a reminder, it's by the community, for the community. So send us through any guests, featured guests that you may recommend. They've got to be top hole though. And it's all about thought leadership. It's about their personal journey. It's about insights, trends, and technologies. And it's not about shilling. It's about education. It's helping our community to learn, earn, and connect. So if you have recommendations, please send them through to me. So robin@cryptomondays.io. Anybody got an announcement to make today? A product launch, a company launch, a new job, a capital raised, or a big deal that you're involved in this vertical of ours, this exciting times of blockchain and AI?
I am.
Anyone?
Good morning.
Anybody?
Hi.
What's that?
Can you hear me?
Did I hear somebody, Matteo? You got something to say?
Yes. Good
Wonderful.
afternoon from London.
Just speak up. We can't hear you that clearly.
Let me remove the earphones.
Now we can't hear you at all.
Okay, let's try again.
There we go. We got you. We got you.
So, good afternoon. I am Matteo from London, and we are launching tomorrow the first prediction market on Bitcoin network hash rate. So it is
Beautiful.
a new exchange. It works really like a prediction market that we designed for Bitcoin miners that need to stabilize their revenues that are very dependent and subject to the global network hash rate, and Bitcoin investors that want to generate yield on Bitcoin very natively.
Fantastic. And what do you want to put the URL in the chat? So
Sorry?
will you put your URL in the chat? Put
Yes.
the web address in the chat so people can have a look at it. Congratulations. How long have you been building it for?
2 years.
Nice.
Way too
Well
long.
done, dude. Thank you. Thank you, Matteo. Anybody else in the room got an announcement to make? Product launch, capital raise, new job? Right. Well, let's rock and roll. So just to let you know, join Crypto Mondays. Lily is going to put it in the chat for us. Here's the URL. And if you want to start a Crypto Mondays chapter, there's a URL for that as well. Please come and join us. And if you want to join Agent Mondi, we've been building that for quite a while, and it's now in soft launch. If you want to be an early adopter of that, there's the URL for you. And then we formed the Decentralized AI Agent Alliance with all this excitement around AI. Blockchain is boring and AI is exciting. Is that it? It's everything's changed. So yeah, please join us there. We'll put that in the chat for you. And then if you want to join us for future events, you want to be notified, please join us on the Luma, CryptoMondays Zoom Luma, calendar of events. And today we have Avi Mash, but before we go to Avi, I just want to hear a little bit from Lou. Lou's normally got a couple of things to say. He's our founder of CryptoMondays since 2018, and anything that's new, Lou, give us a shout.
Hey, thanks, Robin. As Robin mentioned, the big project that Crypto Mondays is working on is Agent Monday, our community management AI agent that's in soft launch. We'll be going a little bit wider in about a week. So that's super exciting. And, the organizers will be using it to organize Crypto Mondays. We'll be able to help our members learn and connect better. And we'll also be able to more deeply engage with our sponsors and really show them an ROI. So super excited about that. A couple months ago at Crypto Mondays NYC, I had the opportunity, the pleasure of hosting an evening with Avi as our featured guest, and we had a great dialogue. And I thought I thought he had a really interesting journey, and had a lot to share. So I'm excited that he's here back with Crypto Mondays at Crypto Mondays Zoom. So welcome, Avi.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks, Avi. Welcome. It's very exciting to have you. There's a little bit on the screen, a little bit of background on you. I'm sure you're going to give us a much better story.
Yeah, I put together, thanks to AI, I was able to put together a decent looking deck that I can walk through. I'll give
Wonderful.
those
Well, I'm
that
going to
don't
hand
know
over
me.
to you then, eh? You
Say it
ready to
again?
rock and roll? I'm going to
Yeah,
hand
yeah,
over to
ready to
you.
rock and roll. Ready to rock and roll.
Let's
So,
go, dude. It's over to you.
first I gotta say hi to Matteo. Funny enough, small world. We actually spoke, I think it was yesterday now, my whole world. So it was fun to see your face again. My background, I was about 12, 13 years in enterprise software sales. So, everyone from Bitcoin comes from something else. That was my background, my journey, as I mentioned to Lou and everyone that was at PubKey. I had quit my job. I had another job starting in 2 weeks. And so I thought it'd be fun to go visit my friend in Lisbon. And all these guys were internet entrepreneurs, some of my smartest friends. They were early on the Amazon, buying things in China, selling them to the US. And so they were the big movers and shakers, I'd say, of my friend group. And they started talking about Bitcoin. And I just remember still something my dad tells me is Bitcoin's still beanie babies despite its crazy growth since 2017. But that was funny enough. My first thing, I was like, what is this? Pokemon cards, beanie babies, like fake money. And then it went up, and was like, maybe I should learn about this a little bit more. And so, up until about 2019, I was just a retail investor. Bought first at 2,400. Those coins are gone now. In 2019, I think I had to pay a tax bill and thought that was the most liquid that I wasn't sure of. And then since then, I have not made that mistake again. And since 2019, I have not sold anything. So I'm still a long-term holder despite all of this. But then I had my second bump in the road, where it was my first Bitcoin job, which was Prime Trust. So kind of a fun story if those are not familiar. The executives at Prime Trust, we see some laughs here in the crowd. Uh, Seemed like a really legit company. Former Secret Service, as the CEO. A lot of the C-suite came from DocuSign. Um, you guys in the crowd probably know almost as much as I do about this. As I've talked with other people, they seem to know even more than we did. But a lot of the employees were, yeah, rug trust, crime trust. We've heard it all. I can raise my hand and say I truly, if anything, I was like the internal whistleblower at the time. What happened, for those that don't know, there was a wallet on old infrastructure. We moved over to now I'm blank fire. Why am I can't blank the name? Uh, to what's the fire? I'm blanking on the name now. But
Block.
yes, Fireblock. Sorry. So that the technology was on Fireblocks, and this is all from like my understanding of what happened. We'll see if the money's still there in a wallet, but they didn't tell any of us at the company, which was crazy. And I heard through Twitter. I felt like an athlete finding out I got traded through Twitter. And long story short, they told me to ignore things on Twitter. Anyone can say anything, even though the executive team probably knew at the time. And then 2 days later, they told us what happened, and it was a crazy, unfortunate situation. And I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. They tried to keep us, on board there. But after about a month, I said, like, I'm not sticking around. I don't trust anyone here at this point. So there was a lot of good people there. It's unfortunate that a few folks were not honest with the rest of the company, but it kind of brought me to where I am today, in the sense that I had a lot of clients that were lost. They needed help. They needed to figure out what custodians they could go to, what on and off ramps they could go to, liquidity partners. So all of these companies all of a sudden had nothing to do. And so I started doing consulting. I started a podcast. The first one was the Bitcoin economy. Then we moved to the daily stack, which we still do every single day. I have a business partner. We have a few other folks that have joined now to take some of the days, but every day we talk mostly about Bitcoin. We have one day that we do talk about stocks and then AI. I think a lot of Bitcoiners are interested in AI as well as stocks. When Lou asked me, I think it was a question, like the one commonality amongst Bitcoiners, I said they're all curious, right? And they're all looking and don't necessarily take status quo. They're always curious people that want to learn more and educate themselves. And so that's what we talk about on the podcast. We've brought on some great guests. Uh,
I was hesitant to say Eric Trump because half the people hate him, half the people like him. But it was a pretty cool opportunity to interview the president's son. We interviewed Adam Back. We interviewed Sailor, Fong Lee, a number of 200 plus people, over the time. So it's been a great opportunity to connect with some of the treasury companies, on the early stage, and then eventually I got kind of humbled every time I'd tell people I was a podcaster at these happy hours, and so I told my business partner, I was like, we have to start to build something that is relevant and needed and transparency and uh, we've been hurt by Bitcoin and my professional experience in Bitcoin. So the one thing we lack is transparency. And so what I wanted to do was build something that was transparent. And so I started 21rates.com and I'll show very quickly what this is. But it's the easiest equivalent. Yeah, let's see if it will let me share. I would say is like a nerd wallet for Bitcoin financial products and services. And so we want to become the biggest repository of all any Bitcoin brand. So even small mom and pop shops, we have like a Subway or a sub shop that that takes Bitcoin as well. So if you go to like the directory or companies, you can find out everything. But really across all lenders, you can come in here, compare rates if you want to click in and learn more cards, custodians, exchanges. And we want to be 100% transparent. We do have, certain sections where how we make money is like a featured lender, but if you scroll over, it says like they're paying us to have that featured spot. None of this will ever change. So like this is all going to be honest. And you click in, we'll have like reviews and things like that. We have different news articles, ways to earn Bitcoin. This is inherently our most popular page still. People coming in to learn and earn Bitcoin. And so it's a really fun, we're continuing to build this out. We want this to be a community website as well. So like we're always open to feedback on how to make it better, where we can improve. I know a lot of the OGs may not love the financialization of Bitcoin. And part of me is in that camp, but the bigger part of me is just the understanding that anyone can buy Bitcoin. And so whether I have my perfect fantasy of what Bitcoin should be, the reality is much different in terms of, institutions are going to get involved because no one's stopping them from buying. And so I wanted to at least provide some point of clarity there as well. So that's my company, but I do want to talk about, the overall. Let me stop this share and try to share my other screen. And please make this as conversational. I don't claim to be the number one expert in the space, but I thought this was like a helpful slide that I put together in terms of kind of where we started and where we are today, basically from the major timeline of the financialization of Bitcoin. So Grayscale, I believe, was the first one to open their door to let accounts actually hold Bitcoin back in 2013. CME started the futures listing in 2017. It was 2020 where strategy went 100% basically, and they have a small operating business which was their SaaS platform for many years, but that was making like 500. There was the stock was a dead company, basically, how Saylor explained it. So he had to make some sort of change. And I'm sure you guys have heard many YouTubes or been to conferences where Saylor talks. He looks like the biggest genius oftentimes. And then right now it's interesting times where he said he wasn't ever going to sell Bitcoin, then he does. So that was a hiccup in my mind personally, but everyone has their opinion there. Then of course we've started to see some of the Coinbase IPOs, Kraken IPO is coming, eToro is now another IPO that has happened. But I think like in my Bitcoin lifetime, the biggest news for me was like when the spot ETFs were approved. That was, they had 11 funds launched. I think 9 of them were custodian by or held custody at Coinbase. So you start to see the suits start to come in a little bit more. Now, the most interesting product that is kind of underwater right now, candidly, is STRC, which is Strategies Preferred. They have multiple different preferreds, but STRC is what was claimed to be like the money market, right? Where it would stay at $100. Anytime it went below $100, they'd raise the yield. Anytime it went above $100, they would lower the yield. And this is very simplification of all of this. But um, right now, there's a really cool website too. I'll just pop over for a second. That is called STRC Live, and we live in this world now. Where is it? I think it's on here, and I got to go to this page maybe. Can you guys see this one?
Yep.
Okay. So strc.live, clearly a vibe coded site. They all kind of look similar in some capacity here. But you can see that it's dropped to the 88, right? This should stay close to 100, but they've now raised the yield to 13.6%, which is actually higher than SATA. This is Strive Asset Management's. And so ASST is the uh, traditional equity that they have, and then SATA is their version of STRC. And both of them, the idea is to stick around 100, right? Like almost like a stable coin would. You want to keep it pegged to 100. And anytime it goes above or below, they'll change the yield. And so this has been massive in terms of flows, like that money has been coming in left and right. But it's starting to worry some people, obviously, myself included. I had a bunch of money set aside for a house, and I was, currently it's in like a 4% like safe yield where, if the market crashes, I'm still good. And I was very close to putting it all into STRC. And so I'm happy I did not, but you can see that you get the yield to make up for it. So these are pretty interesting. It's a cool site. You can kind of see everything that they're doing anytime they make a buy. Or you could follow Sailor and get alerts and see every orange dot that they put up. But was an interesting, I thought, in the timeline of institution of getting creative. And so you got to give Sailor credit to get creative with how they're doing that. And then let me.
Where are you now with regards to Sailor and strategy? Are you bullish?
I'm underwater. I'll tell you that much. I said if as soon as he sells, I would sell. But then I looked and I was 70% down. The timing of everything is crazy, right? I just got
Yeah.
back from Strategy World in Orlando. You hear Sailor talk, you get so sucked in. It sounds too good to be true. But I had an old 401k, and so I think when strategy was like in the 300s, I bought, and then I bit too. So I'm like 70% down on those right now. Thankfully, I did get involved with some of the AI trades with Micron, and Nebulous has been great for me as well. So like I'm about the same, but I'm holding them. And again, as a Bitcoin believer long term and someone that's holding, those are in my IRA, so I'm not gonna touch those. I'm not gonna sell. But I'd
You, I
be
mean,
lying to you if I wasn't like a little concerned right now with Sailor after he said he wouldn't sell. Then he said I wouldn't. Then he kind of transitioned to saying he was a net buyer of Bitcoin. So he's either the smartest man in the world or got us again. So
Yeah. I think
yeah,
you want to put it
yeah,
in
I think
slideshow mode.
say it again.
Put your slides into slideshow mode.
Oh,
Is
sorry. Is that better?
perfect. Sorry, Liam.
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy to open this again. Like I don't claim to be the there's you guys probably know as much as I do, if not much more
Well,
in
you've
some
got an
of this.
interesting view, right, on like on the retail world with the podcast. So
Yeah.
kind of how have you seen things evolve over the last year? With like
Well,
who's listening to your podcast and
yeah.
the reactions and such.
So one actually really interesting data point, which my hypothesis was this, so it's nothing like that shocked me, but it was really cool to actually see that because we have sponsors, and so I vibe coded an analytics platform for the sponsors where I could see how many impressions we're getting, over time. And it really does correlate with the price of Bitcoin in terms of when people are engaged with Bitcoin. That was like a pretty obvious thesis that I had. But to see the actual data behind it, to see when Bitcoin spikes, the views spike as well, and the impressions spike as well. As Bitcoin comes down, less and less people are interested. We're in this attention economy, as many people call it, and that's just the reality of the markets. And but again, you guys have been in Bitcoin longer than I have. I got in summer 2017. I've been through enough ups and downs where, I kind of in a weird way like when it goes lower just because I'm a long-term holder and I get cheaper sats when I pay. And the one thing for Bitcoin is I always tell my friends it's dollar cost average and not look at it. Just think of it as money you're just putting away for your grandkids.
Do you have suggested
Otherwise,
ways for people to do that?
I use River, but I know there's a few options out there that people can do that. I think most the exchanges will allow you to do that. River was just super easy. It was like 2 clicks and I was in and buying Bitcoin. You guys, I'm open, if other people have better
Yeah,
ways to do that.
I started using one of the guys who started Crypto Mondays Los Angeles, January 22nd, 2018. Corey Clipston started Swan
Yeah, yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah.
So that's what I used to DCA.
So Swan, and this is, I think it's public information. A friend of mine, Brandon Quittem, also a Minnesota guy, was just talking about this in the chat that they're allowing people starting with GBTC, to convert to actual Bitcoin.
Oh wow,
So you have yeah,
that's
that's like one of the
great.
coolest.
Yeah,
So I'm bringing him on. I think in like we had to reschedule. I think it's going to be in a week. I can tell you, Lou, if it's interesting
yeah,
for.
that'd be fun. Yeah, uh yeah, I mean for a while GBTC was selling at a pretty steep discount to NAV. And you
Yeah,
could have made a pretty penny buying that.
yeah. So and again, I think like you can look at ETFs in two ways, right? It's like, all right, now the suits are coming in. It's changing fundamentally how, the purpose potentially of Bitcoin. They're only concerned with yield, and all these ETFs make money either way if it goes up or down, right? They're taking money either direction. But what I think it does is opens the door for, in my case, like I had money that was sitting in an IRA and it allows me to have access to Bitcoin. Where if I pulled it early, I'd take a pretty big hit on the taxes. So it kept it kind of in the same ecosystem for myself. And like now, this is really cool. Swan will allow you to actually get actual Bitcoin, and I think Schwab is going to start to do that as well. Um, so we're in an interesting time, even though Bitcoin is now once again dead for the 20th thousandth time or whatever. Um, it's what is it? We at like right around 60, 58, I think when I last
No,
checked.
no, we're not. Well, yeah, we're having a big day, up over 2%.
Okay. So yeah, actually another cool thing I vibe coded because I got sick of typing in what's the price of Bitcoin in Google.
Yeah.
I made a Chrome extension that I can share with you guys too. It's just
Tells you the
one
price
click.
of Bitcoin every 12 seconds.
Yep, it updates it. It shows fear and greed index as well. So it's pretty cool. I use it 20 times a day now, where it's just like one click versus not. I have a
So
bunch of others.
you get out to Vegas for any of the events, BTC Vegas Money 2020?
Yeah. So yeah, every year I go to Bitcoin in Vegas, or I guess I didn't go to Nashville, but I went to Vegas twice now. We went to Hong Kong, Bitcoin Hong Kong, which was great. And each of the different events, and I'm sure you guys have been to a lot of them, but totally different vibes, right? Like Bitcoin Hong Kong was very different feeling than Bitcoin Vegas. And I've noticed over the years too, it's like on down, on years that Bitcoin's down, you get the true Bitcoiners, right? Where it's, I think when first Bitcoin Vegas, I think we were at all-time highs, and you get a lot of Bitcoin tourists that did not come to the next one, right? And so Crypto Mondays, when I came to Crypto Mondays, it felt like everyone was like an OG, that has been on, they're sticking around. Um, and you can always tell, like, the Uber driver, that's the time to sell when your Uber driver grandma starts asking about it. But right now, I feel like we could certainly go lower. The thing is, no one really truly knows. If anyone tells you they know, they're lying to you probably. But you can start to get a sense, off of flows, of course, of where the price will go. But that's why DCA is just, I know or I feel in my heart that Bitcoin in 5 years, 10 years will be much higher than it is today, and I will hit new all-time highs again. Um, but it's very tough to.
Turns out it's volatile, which, by definition, the things with the assets with the most upside have the most volatility.
Yep. No, 100%. And that's what Saylor talks about all the time. He loves the volatility. And eventually MSTR, like I bought it, at 300 thinking it's going to 1,000. That's what everyone in the room like felt confident of behind. Lou, you have your math to a million, right? And 20, I think it's
Yeah.
2032, you think? Um,
2031. Exactly. I remember.
2031.
Yeah.
So that's a sneeze away, right? Like life moves so
Yeah,
fast.
exactly. You can make a couple. I mean, and we could get there in a heartbeat, right? That's what, people don't, appreciate given the limited quality. If something happens, there's only been one thing, because I'm the DCA buy and hold. I've only did one short-term trade in the 8 years, and that was when SVB folded. Because, I knew that, that hundreds of thousands of very wealthy people just realized not your keys, not your money.
Mhm.
And Bitcoin was up 50% the next month.
The other catalyst that not a lot of people talk about, but my co-founder brought this up is SpaceX, all these guys, they have cliffs coming off too pretty soon. And there's like some big IPOs. We had a few years of like not any big IPOs, but we have Anthropic, we have SpaceX and OpenAI that are coming. And the people that have been there for years, they may sell, and it's no guarantee, of course, but like a lot of the tech people are looking for the asymmetric bet and they see Bitcoin at its low. And so I think a good chunk of that money could start to flow over is my optimistic hope here. But this is a slide for the Bitcoin Treasury folks that have been around. It's you look at strategy and they're in their own island compared to the next person, right? So 21 has the second most, Metaplanet right below them. Marathon sold them. You saw a lot of the miners switch over to AI as well, just because there's a lot more money there currently. But Sailors, I mean, he's got a quest to hit at least 1 million coins, and they're buying every single day,
I hear
basically.
they're a net buyer.
They are a net buyer. Yeah, I don't love Sailor right now. Like it's been.
Yeah, but I mean, I get that, but personally, I'm not here because of Sailor anymore, than I'm here because of the Clarity Act.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I think any real Bitcoiner doesn't. This is all kind of noise ultimately.
Exactly.
He's
Yeah, I
done
mean,
a
look,
great job of orange pilling. I think,
undoubtedly, I think the best job of anybody ever.
yeah. So you got to give him credit on that. I think he goes on there. He sounds very intelligent. He has his vision, and he has the commitment to this. He has nothing. He can't back out now. I feel like, right? And so
Yeah, but also, one of the funny things that people who want to rail on him talk about is how, MicroStrategy is down like 99.9% or some ridiculous percentage, back post the internet bubble.
yeah.
And, while certainly that was true, almost 99.9% of those companies went to zero. How many of them came back to, I don't know what it got
Yeah.
down to, $1 or 12 cents or whatever, and back up to $300. And I heard some people were buying it even over that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I've brought on I don't know if you guys know like Adrian Morris, but he's like they need to start putting some of this money back into the operating business to continue to produce money. Because their operating business I think makes like $500 million a year, which is nothing to sneeze at, but in the grand scheme of things, it's tiny. And they're clearly a Bitcoin company. My thinking is that they become a bank and they'll be selling digital credit if we get to that point. But we may be 5 years away. But I'm going to continue to hold. And if I'm wrong, I have more upside potential now than I have downside. If it goes, I don't think it will go to zero. But
And
uh,
any thoughts on it being nationalized and becoming the U.S. Bitcoin reserve?
I did say, yeah, I think we talked about this. That's
Yeah.
my conspiracy theory is that the government will take it over, take strategy over at some point. But that's a high in the sky kind of conspiracy
I got to
theory.
assume they got to pay some premium.
Yeah, no, of course. So the people would get that back, but they could easily say it's, a national defense. There's ways I like looked it
It
up.
wouldn't be the first time.
Right, they took gold, right, and so. It's pretty fascinating. But these treasury companies are mostly underwater at this point. You'll see a lot of M&A is my guess, with these companies that can't afford to pay themselves salaries, because too many companies had no operating business. They just got a bunch of money together and bought Bitcoin and they tried to hop onto the ride, in my opinion. Whereas like you can see the strong ones. We've had Matt Cole on from Strive on the podcast quite a bit. And uh, he's interesting. These guys are all bullish, right? They have to be internally, but like it is it's fascinating, and especially like this chart, seeing like
Well, in all sincerity, how many people? This is to me, this is one of the most bullish things about Bitcoin, right? How many people do you think that you have met in your life, who have seen the Bitcoin light,
Mhm.
who totally see it for what it is and get it and appreciate it? How many of those have you met, and how many of those have subsequently left Bitcoin and go, you know what, I was wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not a lot.
Yeah,
Once you see the light, I think I have some friends that came in to make some money quick and then leave, but like if you've been to enough conferences, you spend 100 hours watching YouTubes about it and understanding why Bitcoin came to be. My favorite, Jack Mahler's another. All these guys at the top, people either love or hate. But I thought he did a great job of orange pilling the youth. And
he's spectacular. I mean,
yeah,
he has got a gift. If you haven't heard Jack
gift of
Mahler
gab.
talk,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
The one YouTube I'd recommend is it's called Jack Mahler's Best Bitcoin Speech in Prague. I think it was in Prague that
Just
he
recently, yeah.
maybe I think it was a year or two ago.
Last year, yeah. I mean, he's really amazing. He's really one of these guys who just has a gift.
It made sense because he's like, is it Biden's fault? Is it Trump's fault? Is it though? And it really gets down to the nitty gritty of all of this is noise. All the politics are noise. And at the end of the day, it's systematic issue, and governments are not going to stop printing money,
They
and
can't.
they can't, right? And so yeah, so that was the best one that like really orange pilled me into realizing, okay, this is Bitcoin's here to stay. And no matter how many times people have called it dead. Right now, it feels pretty asymmetric. I know it could definitely go a little bit lower here, but it feels like an asymmetric bet based off of and Chris Camillo. I don't know if anyone knows him, but he had a good talk about when he makes his bets is when people, once everyone's in the trade, that trade's probably done for a bit. But right now, the fear and greed, I think, is at 12, was last I checked. And so like you talk to your friends that are not Bitcoiners and they think it's dead. They don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And so it's starting to feel like we're bottoming, but as soon as I say that, we could drop again to, a
Yeah,
little bit.
look, that's if you DCA, it is what it is. The personally the best thing about DCAing, dollar cost averaging, buying every day, is while you certainly want it to go up, it does at the margin make it a little less horrific when it goes down because it just
Yeah.
means that you own a little bit more. And 2 or 3 or 5 years after it crashed, you're feeling great about the crash.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
and
And
now in
and
hindsight, I'd say like I think the multiples, the MNAVs were kind of crazy. And like my friend who's pretty good at stocks, he's like, why would you not just buy Bitcoin? And it's getting harder and harder to say that because like the MNAVs used to be at like 4 or 5. It was like kind of crazy. And the MNAV, for those that don't know, is like basically the premium on the Bitcoin that they were getting. Uh, and maybe one day MSTR figures out a way to kind of capitalize on this. But this is like basically it would trade at a premium. They'd go out and raise capital very low. They'd go buy more Bitcoin, and that's just a continuous cycle. So let me see what else is interesting here. I don't know if anyone has questions.
yeah, why don't you open up, Robin? I've kind of been. It's a super interesting. Yeah, so much going on.
No, it's great. It's actually works quite nicely as a fireside chat. So thanks, Lou, for doing that. Yeah, anybody wants to ask a question, please put up your hand. Let's open it to the floor. Thanks, Avi, for being able to present and take questions at the same time. That's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, check out, and this is kind of like all of the different financial products that are built, so far. I've seen real estate now with Bitcoin. Certain cities will allow you to pay your taxes. So I think all of those are net positive. Ultimately for Bitcoin is just continuing to grow. You mentioned Corey from Swan just had a few NBA players on, which people are like, oh, the NBA players don't need Bitcoin to survive, right? But you think about who watches those NBA players, it's the youth, right? And if we can get a bunch of, younger, the next generation starting to think about this, which again, Jack Mallers does a great job of simplifying this for people. That's where we continue to grow as Bitcoiners and how we can fight back against the Fed who constantly prints money. So, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I hope this was helpful. I don't know if it how helpful it was, but always fun to talk Bitcoin with other Bitcoiners. So,
No, that's amazing. Lou, if you're still there, let's carry on because I think the people are finding it quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, let's see. There are other folks I know who's got opinions who are just going down. I think Caleb just got here. Caleb, you got what are your thoughts on Bitcoin these days? You're on mute, Caleb, if you're around.
I was wondering, Avi, like, do you think Saylor would actually sell, just buckle and sell now when he gets so low? I mean, surely he's just out there raising more capital.
well, he did sell. Uh,
Yeah.
he
Did he
did
Yeah,
sell
sell.
how
it?
much more? Hey, Alberto, if you're on if you can get off mute, and chat about invite Avi out to Bitcoin Mondays Vegas.
Hey, what's
Yeah.
up, Bobby? Um, yeah, so we started Crypto Mondays, Bitcoin Mondays, Vegas. Won't say during the Bitcoin conference. I don't know if you showed up to the Legacy Club at Circa. But yeah, we started doing it every Monday. Yeah, I'd love to have you as a, highlight speaker, guest, to one of our events whenever you're in town. You're in LA, right?
No, I'm in New York or Hoboken. I don't know if,
Oh, okay.
for
Okay,
those on
okay.
the East Coast, they know, but it's right across the river from the New York City.
Okay.
But I'm travel quite a bit to a lot of these conferences, and we actually just had the CEO of Fold on, Will Reeves, yesterday. Um,
Oh,
and they sold Bitcoin too, but he's like, I have an operating business. We never said, he didn't make the claims that Saylor said where they would never sell Bitcoin. But they're coming out with a new credit card, I think, in about a month, I want to say. Or they have one out and then they have new products coming out, but 4% on any purchases go and automatically buys Bitcoin. Uh, so I was telling
Nice.
him, I was like, that's even better than ever when the price is going down. You're getting more sats every
Yeah.
single dollar you spend, so.
I use Gemini. I get 3% back.
Well, they had to beat them. They went with 4%. So I actually don't have one, but I think I'm going to get one now because
A beautiful, heavy orange card.
yeah, no, it's really cool what these companies are doing. Um, but yeah, I don't know if
We do have a question in the chat.
Yeah, Eileen's the only person I know that loves money. Is that just
I think you got cut off. I didn't hear that.
Oh, so we do have a question in the chat from a Bidwake. I hope I spelled it right. So he's asking, what are the good wallets to buy Bitcoin in Israel?
I would have to use Gemini or AI for that. I know eToro's an Israeli company. They do stocks and Bitcoin. I'm not sure. I don't want to give you a fake answer here. So I'm not. I don't know. I could look it up. Best bit these wallets in Israel. Get a quick answer here for you. Um,
The question's the best Israeli wallet.
yeah, I think that it's I think so.
There's one actually. eToro bought one
The
recently.
best
Bought an
wallet if you
Israeli
live in
wallet.
Israel is the question.
Sorry.
The question is the best wallet if you live in Israel, right?
Ah,
Is that like a hardware wallet you're asking
No, no, I feel like that's what her question was.
okay.
well, I think
Um,
Zengo's a wallet it's an Israeli company. It was bought by eToro and another Israeli company. So it's a great wallet. And if you have any problems, a bunch of Israelis own it.
Yeah. Um,
We actually had
yeah,
Crypto Mondays at their office in Tel Aviv last year.
I would, yeah, they have very good security. And so I would think so. I mean, you definitely want to get a hardware wallet because you never know. We see things happening. There's like the billionaire tax in California, which is kind of scary. You start to see you know, the communism creep coming in. So you want to protect yourself and definitely get a hardware wallet because, the government could come in and freeze things, but I don't think that will happen in the US, but I don't think people thought in the 30s that gold would get taken either. So, um, got to be somewhat, protective of your assets here. Any other questions? And feel free. Yeah, it can be a floor answer, Lou. I know you know much more than I do in many places too. So
Avi, what learnings did you take out of your terrible experience and built into 21 Raids?
yeah, I
How
think
did you like the experience? What did you take out of that and build into it for?
yeah, I mean, I think it's
Money?
trust and transparency. Like that one thing we always committed to is like we're not gonna rank, if someone pays me money, I'm not gonna rank them higher. The way we make money is that like one section up front, so I'm very transparent. If you scroll over again, it says like they're paying to be a featured lender, but the actual charts, like all of that data, yeah, needs to be accurate. We make people like send us documentation. And so, and we, again, we want it to be community based. So we want to have, real reviews in there. That's candidly one area where I think any review site may struggle is knowing if they're accurate, if someone came in. So we have to probably still need to find a way to verify, but with Bitcoiners, no one wants to give their real name oftentimes. So it's a little hard to do.
Yeah.
Um, so even on my own site, I'd say take it somewhat as a grain of salt. We're trying to be like the most transparent and honest, third party review and rating site. But I'll even say it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah. Great.
But
Thank you. And
do we have
Alex,
any
you got a
question
question
from
there, Alex?
Alex? Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, I dropped it in the chat as well. I was just wondering what you thought because I know that you had mentioned the possibility of BT. Do you think that there's any concern on BTC becoming kind of illegalized? And if so, like what would be the result of that? Like how would transaction monitoring software play into enforcement? I'm just kind of wondering because you
Yeah,
brought it up.
I mean, you can't make it globally illegal, right? So Bitcoin is pretty global at this point. So, and it is there a chance? I wouldn't say it's zero, but I'd say it's a lot. I'd say it's closer to 0% happening than 100% happening, but I wouldn't say that it could never happen. And this is my opinion. Um, again, like this gets very existential of like what are laws, it's like the guys with the guns at the end of the day, right? And so you saw it happen in Venezuela. We had Mauricio from Lebanon one time, and he gave a crazy story about how his brother was building all this mining equipment, and it started off all innocent, where they educated the population of what mining was, and it made it look like Bitcoin was interesting. But that was the whole point of it was like 6 months later, then they had neighbors telling on each other about like, this person has mining equipment in there. And then people came in with guns basically and stole it all. So I wouldn't say never. I think the US is, much more structured today than Venezuela was at the time. Uh, but Trump's out of office in a few years. And maybe the new president may not want that, but I think it'd be tough. I mean, it's like you don't want to stem innovation and you don't want to make it illegal and then China gets it all or another country gets it all. And then, so I don't know if that's the best answer to be honest, but curious what other people think too. I mean, like I don't think it will, but again, I think what the results would be if they made it, I think a lot of retailers would get scared and they'd sell. They don't want to go to jail.
I think you struggled through and gave about the same answer I would give, so I'm going
Yeah.
to stick with your answer.
Yeah, it's like I hope not, but I can you can never say never. But one thing that's kind of cool, and I, I don't think a lot of people realizes that not every Bitcoin is worth the same. So if it's gone through like OFAC nations, like all these institutions, this is actually pretty important to talk about. All the institutions will not touch anything that's been touched by like OFAC sanctioned nations, or if like it was used for dirty money. Like there are a lot of like TRM labs. There's a lot of different monitoring services to check for that. And institutions will not touch that. And if like it's an early Bitcoin, those are worth slightly more. It's kind of becoming like this a collector's item in some ways, but that part I think is interesting. And yeah, if anyone else has an opinion, if they think it could happen. Uh,
Well, I mean, it certainly can because you were just talking about how they did it with gold in
right.
the 30s. I mean, that was, the thought of nationalizing gold in 1920s would have been an anathema, but there they were, just a few years later. And then it's just a question of what enforcement looks like because you're
Yeah.
talking about the chain analysis, the elliptic, the TRM labs. It would be very easy for anybody who has, so to speak, KYC Bitcoin to get their like, okay, well, guess what? The guys with the guns are coming to tell you to turn it over.
Yeah. Yeah. I sure hope that never happens, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's a 0% chance. And um, yeah, I mean, that's not stopping me from buying, but it's potentially feasible. I don't think it would happen, but
I
I
don't
don't
know if
think
it's feasible, but it doesn't mean that they wouldn't try it.
yeah, I think the difference is physical gold is, it's harder to move, right? The same reasons. Like technically you can memorize your seed phrase. I was joking with Neuralink, like you could put it in Neuralink, but then then a hacker could come into your brain and take it out. Uh, but like yeah, I mean it's possible. Um, but
I
I don't know.
appreciate your answer.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Avi.
I don't know. I was wavering there because I hope it doesn't,
Yeah.
but I mean, you've seen it happen in the past. If we can borrow money at 5%, what option would we have to put money into lending to create positive arbitrage? So people are actually doing that with SDRC and SATA, and I remember you could borrow money, on Robinhood, and if you have a brokerage, you could borrow money, at cheaper rates if you have um, and people were doing that, and there's like a little arbitrage there. You can make like 3%, quote free money, and then we saw SGRC break 100, and I think it got down to like I want to say like the 70s at one point. So anything can crack, diversify somewhat,
Free
but
money.
yeah.
And Avi, this was originally going to be win $1 million. And you talked about strategy and the creative ways, they're using debt and so on. And then orange pilling the youth, I think was Jack Mallers done a good job of that. So what are your thoughts in terms of when, how, what those influences will be that will take it and how that trajectory may play out?
Say that. Sorry, I kind of didn't hear you though.
So the original talk was when $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
And we changed it to financialization of Bitcoin. And you talked about strategy and using debt, and you talked about Jack Mallers doing the orange pilling.
Mhm.
And so what are your thoughts in terms of
Win
what
a
is
million?
critical for it? Yeah, when and also what's critical for that path of getting to like a seven-figure valuation?
Now I'm on the other side. I always ask people that on my podcast, and it's harder to
Well,
answer.
you probably got a few answers that you know.
Uh,
You can give other people's answers.
yeah, no, I would guess like in the next like 5, 6 years. But we got a ways to go. So I'd maybe even go to up to 10 years it may take. But again, you're printing money, the dollar keeps going down. And that's another like mind fuck to kind of think about is like, is Bitcoin going down or is the dollar coming, sorry, is Bitcoin going up or is the dollar actually just going down more? So it looks like it's worth more.
Yeah, of course.
But 21 million, which is actually like 19 million, I think, with Satoshi's million coins that are, not touched, lost Bitcoin. I think it's around like someone may know the exact number, but it's around 19 million something that are there.
Yeah.
And that the beauty of Bitcoin is you can't print more. So inherently it has to go higher. Like unless, there's, I don't know. I think it has to go higher. As long as they keep printing, which I don't think they will stop.
Yes. Cool, man. Okay, well, that's great, Avi. I don't know if there's no further questions. I think that's been a fantastic chat. And yeah, big thank you to you, Avi, for giving us your time. And
there was one more question that's kind of interesting that I found out on the 200 United States 250.
okay, cool.
Research. So the woman who's on the board of the America 250 token, really like the America 250 party. She's also on the board of Ripple. So
oh wow,
that I don't know what to think there, but that was like an interesting connection I made. That you have to like scroll. I forgot who showed me this, but like I scrolled down. I was like, oh fuck, that's interesting. But
can you believe it? No?
I don't buy Ripple. Although I could have at 3 cents. Some guy at a bar turned around. He goes, "You should buy Ripple." And so
I feel the same as you. Yeah,
but
geez, they've done a blooming good job.
yeah, I'm Bitcoin only now. I sold all my Ethereum several years ago, and I'm personally just 100% Bitcoin in terms of crypto.
Yeah, I came into the market because of Ripple because I have a payment gateway. Well, I had another one in those days, but I've built another payment gateway now. And I was looking for rails across Africa, for my payment gateway. And so I started to have conversations with Ripple, and that's how I actually got into the market. But then when I did my MSc in digital currency, it becomes super obvious that they can it's just a mechanism to raise capital for them. But they have done a really good job of the business model. So yeah, what can we do?
One other fun conspiracy too with like stable coins, the growth of stable coins. So there's a ban on the Federal Reserve issuing or creating a retail digital dollar, but that ends December 31st, 2030. So that's another. I'm a conspiracy theorist, if you can't tell. Like trying to find these like what's going on here. So I hope that doesn't all these stable coins and digital dollars don't come in to start tracking every move we have. But
I think it's inevitable, yeah. And that's like the flavor of the month at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Buy Bitcoin, stay sovereign.
Yeah. Good. Great. Well, we'll leave on that note. Thank you, Avi.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is great.
And thank you to Lily and Alan for all the background work that you do
Thanks,
for us.
Avi.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Robin.
Have a fabulous rest of the day. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
See ya.
Cheers.